Let's see. It always feels so good to be back in front of the camera. I'm going to wait for a couple viewers to come in, and then we're just going to talk. I'm trying something a little different this time around. I want to give some kind of insight, update on what's been going on with me, and hopefully it will help whoever watches, whoever listens. Let me turn this down some. Okay. And I'm comfortable, you guys. I didn't want to come into this video prepared, if you understand what I'm saying. I wanted to really have this open space to really speak on some things that I've been dealing with and maybe you've been dealing with. So this is just a moment to be transparent, a moment to be honest, a moment to be helpful by sharing my experience and what has helped me to overcome certain things. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. Welcome to Rae of Sonlight. It's been a minute. It's been almost 3 months. I can't really give you the reason, a specific reason, but I'm going to try to touch on some things that I will say is a part of the reason why. It's been almost 3 months since I've been on here. Hi, Deja. So, you guys, it's been rough. It's been rough. Life in general has not been rough. I've just been dealing with it in a way that has been really rough. So I wanted to really speak on 2 things. And the first thing, I have to talk about the first thing before I talk about the second thing. So I've been in a season where it just seems as though I had no motivation. I was not inspired to do anything, to say anything. I've just been in a season where it just felt like there was a bit of separation from my purpose, my calling, that thing that inspires and pushes me. And I want to share that experience with you guys, because I know that a lot of times we have these moments of unintentional separation from God, our creator, our purpose, our inspiration, our source. So I just believe that if I share my experience and what I have noticed during that season and what I learned from that season, I can express that and share that, and hopefully whoever is going through that same thing can find some tools to overcome and get over that hump and get into the next phase, the next season, the next level of their lives. And I'm excited for mine. I'm really, really excited for mine. And mine always comes right before a birthday. My birthday is next month, so I'm excited. So unintentional separation from God, spirit, God, and or spirit. I oftentimes refer to God as spirit. I'll just say spirit. But that unintentional separation from God begins when you refuse to accept what is going on around you, or you're holding on to things that are not meant to follow you into your next season. So I found myself becoming very comfortable with where I was and not expecting to change gears anytime soon. So I was just, living, being happy, doing the things that I thought I was supposed to do at that time in that season. And it felt good. It felt amazing. I felt growth. I seen the growth within myself. And I got stuck there. I realized that I lost that discipline that I had because I became so comfortable where I was. And a lot of people, this happens to a lot of people. That's why things don't get done, things don't get accomplished. People don't reach that next season or that next level in their lives because they get comfortable at a certain place. And you can't get comfortable. You just cannot get comfortable, especially when we are called to go from glory to glory. We're called to grow and evolve every day. And I have to understand that I'm entering into a phase of my life to where all of those things that I held on to, those things that I use as excuses to why I'm not doing this and why I'm not at this place in my life, those things cannot follow me into this next season because they will only weigh me down and I won't be able to focus on what's important. Hi, Zay. I'm so glad you're watching. But I was stuck in that place. And I stopped being consistent with my meditations. I stopped being consistent with my time with God. You'll miss a day, and then a day becomes 2 days. Then 2 days become 3. And then you might hop back into your session for a day or 2, and that might last for, a good second, and then you're back. You're missing a day, missing 2 days, missing 3 days. And as time went on, I started missing a bunch of days, and it got to a point where I was missing a week. And I would look and think, wow, I haven't really spent time with myself and with my Creator, with God, in a week. And that's how life happens. You get so caught up in what life is constantly bringing to you. Because life is constantly bringing you new situations, introducing you to new people, new opportunities, heartbreak, heartache, disappointments. Life is full of so many different things that are only meant to strengthen you, but a lot of times they can catch you off guard, okay? And so that's the season that I was in. It seemed like nothing that I was asking for was happening or wasn't happening fast enough. And God kept saying, trust me. Trust me. I know what I'm doing. Trust me. God kept telling me to trust him. And at some point, I don't know if I just didn't want to hear that anymore, because it was just to the point where I was like, okay, what am I trusting you for? I need to know. I felt like I needed to know. And of course I know better. Of course I know better. But when you're in this flesh, when you're in this fleshly body and temptation is all around you and you see people who aren't really, it seems like they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. You're paying attention to other people's lives. You're just caught up in what other people are doing. You start to feel like, okay, why isn't that happening for me? And I'm at a point to where when I start to feel those things coming up, I can be like, oh no, Rae, that's not you. That's not what you're made of. That's not how you behave. That's not how you think. But when you're in this body, those feelings and emotions can surface. And if you are not consistent in your time with God, if you're not consistent in your time in prayer, if you're not consistent in your time with self, you're going to fall into those traps very easily. You're going to become envious. You're going to become jealous. You're going to allow things to manifest in your life that will only hinder you. And I got caught up in the special effects that social media provides when it comes to other people's lives. And I have to say this. Because it's very important. I've been thinking a lot about this lately. And feel free, definitely chime in. But social media is one of the greatest things that we have in this time and season of life. Because it allows us to connect with so many other people. It allows us to know so many more stories other than our own. We get to see people go through things. We get to see people overcome things. We get to see people love and have fun. We get to see those things. But then there's another side of social media that becomes addictive, and you become obsessed with it. And that's the thing that caused me to enter into a season of complacency. And I realized, Ray, you're stuck observing other people's lives and other people's stories, that you're not in tune to your own story. You're not in tune to your own story, your own life, and the things that you're going through and the things that you have to overcome. You're not in tune with those things because you're so focused on trying to figure out, how did this person get from point A to point B? And I think and there's nothing wrong with that, but when that becomes the only thing that has your focus, it becomes draining. It's very draining. And that addictive spirit latches on to you, and you find yourself constantly picking up your phone. You find yourself constantly scrolling to see the next post, and you're mindlessly scrolling. You're mindlessly scrolling through social media. You don't know what you're looking for, just looking. And it takes a lot of your time and energy and effort. And that's what really happened. I wasn't really happy in the place that I was in. So I tried to just satisfy that by, looking at other people's lives, looking at their accomplishments, looking to see what they're doing. Like, yes, congratulations, yes, I'm happy for you. Trying to live in other people's happiness instead of understanding that there's happiness and joy within myself that I have to explore, I have to discover. And I know that happens to a lot of us. I know that happens to a lot of us. We get to a place in life where it seems like nothing's happening for us. Nothing is happening with us. No one is paying us any attention. No one sees us. No one hears us. And so we start to just watch other people. And we get so consumed in, oh, they're doing this. Oh, how amazing. They're doing that. How great. And we forget that the same Creator, the same God who created them and purposed them and has placed them in a season of prosperity and abundance, it's the same God who created you, placed purpose on the inside of you, the same God who placed love and placed all of his characteristics inside of you. That same God created you. And a lot of times we forget that. We forget that we're just like the person that we're watching and in awe of. We just seem to separate ourselves from that awareness and that truth. And that's what I did. I forgot that I was one with God. I forgot that all that he is, I am. I forgot that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And in me forgetting that, it opened the door for um, insecurities to surface. It opened the door for self-pity, and doubt and depression begins to settle. When all of these contrary feelings, opposing feelings, those feelings that are contrary to the thoughts of God, those things, the truth of God, the fear, the doubt, the shame, the worry, the stress, the insecurities, the self-pity, the self-hate, all of those things begin to surface when you forget that you're connected and one with God. And in the midst of all that, depression and anxiety begins to settle. And so now I'm in a place to where I'm very familiar with depression, and I'm very familiar with anxiety, because it's something that being black and gay growing up is something that I've carried with me and I became familiar with. And so I'm very familiar with those things. So when I found myself surrounded by the depression and the anxiety, I was like, okay, I've gotten over this before. I can do it again. But I wasn't being consistent with my time with God. I wasn't being intentional and consistent with time with self at that time. So I thought that I was able to overcome it. But when you're not connected and when you're not constantly seeking God for his wisdom and his guidance, and you're not really exploring how you're feeling, you're not really trying to dissect it and understand it, or even acknowledge it. Because for a minute I wasn't trying to acknowledge it, because I felt like if I didn't acknowledge it, it wasn't real. And so that sense of denial kicked in. And God was showing me, I want you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention to how you're moving right now. Because I'm giving you an instruction and you're receiving this instruction, but you're doing nothing with it. And he kept saying, I want you to pay attention. But God, I'm depressed. God, I'm not really happy. I'm content, but I'm not happy. Last season was a good season for me. I was really happy. I was growing. I was evolving. I was hearing him clearly. I was doing this and doing that. But God said, because you were spending time with me. You were spending time with me. You would get up in the morning. You would spend time with me. You would all throughout the day. And I'm like, God, I speak to you, yes. And if one of those things with God is ever present. God is always going to be there. So I was using that. Well, God, I communicate with you all day throughout the day. That's just my life. That's just how I operate. But God was like, it hasn't been any intentional time that you set aside for me. So I had to really acknowledge that, and we're going to segue into this next part because this is very important. So after I was in a place to where I got tired of feeling depressed and tired of feeling unmotivated and tired of feeling uninspired, I was like, okay, God, I'm listening. I have to acknowledge this place that I'm in right now. What is this place? And a lot of times we don't want to acknowledge the place that we're in because it's a place that we don't want to be in. And that's not productive. That's not productive, because the only way that you're going to get out of the place that you're in is to acknowledge it first. And God kept telling me, okay, you have to open your eyes, come into awareness of the place that you're in right now. And so a lot of introspection took place. I really had to go within myself and try to figure out, okay, Rae, what is going on with you right now? What is going on? Because you're not being consistent with your time with God. You're not being disciplined like you've been journaling and writing like you wanted to be. You haven't been doing those things. Why not? What's going on? And I realized that things in my life were changing. New job, new sense of being, new schedule. And I realized that I really didn't want to embrace that change. I was excited about something different, but I really didn't want to embrace that change because it was unfamiliar. And God was saying, I kept telling you to trust me because you're entering into new territory, unfamiliar territory. And I'm going to bless you tremendously in this next season. And if you don't learn to trust me right now, if you don't learn to trust me with the new things, the small newer things that I'm sending your way, how can you trust me when I begin to enlarge your platform and spread out your influence? What are you going to do if you don't trust me? Because all of those things that you have envisioned for yourself, the things that I've allowed you to see, concerning your future in me, it requires trust in me. And so, in the midst of that, I had to really just sit with that for a second. I had to sit with that. And I realized that at first I was becoming very tired of feeling the way that I was feeling. I was tired of feeling depressed. I was tired of feeling uninspired. I was tired of feeling unmotivated because I had just come from a season where I was inspired and motivated all the time. I was constantly seeking God. I just came from that season, and to enter into the season to where it was just like, what is happening? That was just a jolt for me. And God was like, okay, you've been hearing me say trust you. You've been telling people that I've been telling you to trust me, but you just don't want to trust me. What's going on? And it was just like, okay, God, there's some things there that you got to work on. And one mistake that we make when we start to be told or shown things about ourselves that are not comfortable to hear or to know about ourselves, we tend to deny or just ignore it. Deny or ignore it. And for a long time, I ignored it. But I'm so glad that me ignoring that did not turn into total denial. Because I'm in a place now to where if God tells me something, I have to consider it. It's always a consideration first. And then I acknowledge it as truth. And so I had to enter into a place of acknowledgement that I was unintentionally separated from my source. And when God has been my friend since I could remember, so having God express or show me the truth of the separation, I was like, okay, I got to get back because I don't know any other place but to be in God. I don't know any other place but that. So I had to get back to that. So I became tired of feeling the way that I was feeling, and it began to become too familiar. The depression and anxiety became too familiar for me, and that's when I started to become worried. Okay, this is becoming too normal for me to be depressed, and be up and down with my emotions and my thoughts and my feelings and my actions. And the things of God were beginning to become foreign to me. I didn't recognize his peace. I didn't recognize his love for me. I didn't even recognize the purpose. And so then I had to be like, okay, God, I admit I was wrong, you was right. I got off track. and and I want you to understand this. It doesn't even have to be one of those things where it's like you're totally separated. You haven't spent time with God in a year or years. Because for me, if I go a week or 2 weeks, I'm out of whack. I'm unstable in all of my ways. If I go a week without consistently being in God's presence and really talking to God and hearing from God and all of those things, I am unstable mentally, emotionally, physically. When I tell you I eat and eat and eat when I'm not really connected to my source, I look for that fulfillment in other things, and food is one of those things. It's different things for different people. So if you don't know what it is that you are drawn to when you're separated from God, definitely pay attention, because it's definitely food for me. Okay? And I become very tired because I have their energy. He's my source. He's my energy. So I become very tired and lazy. And I procrastinate. Oh my God. So I had to admit that my lack of commitment, consistency, and discipline allowed open doors for laziness, procrastination, fear, anxiety, depression, and the lack of motivation to creep in. So once I acknowledge that, give me 1 second. I had to remember who I was and who I was of. And it took some time. It's still taking time. It's still taking time. I had to battle with acknowledging and accepting where I was and the fact that I put myself there. I had to acknowledge that. That was just the truth. And I'm so glad that I'm in a place in my life to where I can be honest with myself and not feel bad about it, not feel any shame, not feel condemned. I could be honest with myself and start making those changes, those necessary changes, and recommit myself to my source. So I had to find the lesson. And the lesson was, apart from God, there is no control or stability within myself. That was the lesson that I had to learn. That apart from God, without God, being separated from God, there is no control or stability within myself at all. And it of course, it's something that I've always said, but when you're placed in a situation where you unintentionally are separated from your source, you're not really meditating, you're not spending time with spirit yourself, you're not trying to figure out what spirit is leading you towards, you're not trying to follow instruction or direction, you're not trying to be obedient, you're just trying to do what your flesh, what you want to do. And I had to realize I'm in a place in my life and I have this relationship with God to where I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't have the opportunity to do that, because apart from Him, I realized I have no control. There is no control. There is no stability. My emotions are all out of whack. My diet is crazy. My thoughts are running rampant. I can't find peace. So I had to realize, Rae, this is not the way. This is not the way that you are supposed to live. This is not the way that you're supposed to exist in this world. There has to be consistency. There has to be discipline. There has to be connection to your creator, your source. I'm created in the image of God. So all that God is, I am. If I'm not connected to that, how can I be that? So it was one of those things to where I had to be like, okay, grow up. It's time to grow up. It's time to evolve. And it's not always going to be pretty, and it's not always going to be easy, but let's be honest with yourself. The best thing that you can do in this journey of loving yourself is being honest with yourself. And I had to be honest with myself. The things that I don't like about myself, those things that are hindering my growth and my evolution, those things I had to let go of. And a lot of times we don't want to let go of things because we're so familiar with them, even if it's bad for us. So God was saying, the whole time I was telling you to trust me, this is why I was telling you to trust me, because I understand. I understand what it is to have your human experience here on this earth. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Because there's too many opportunities to forget who you are in this world, amongst all of these different people. It's so easy to forget who you are. And for a minute, I forgot who I was. So I had to seek God for forgiveness. I had to seek God for forgiveness and restoration, which is still taking place. And the reason why I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to be transparent, to let you guys know that it's okay to have to ask God for forgiveness. And it's quite necessary. It's quite necessary. Because if you think you're going to live this life without making mistakes, if you think you're going to live this life without being wrong about a lot of things, you're living your life blindly. You have to become aware that you're not perfect. In your own right, in your own mind, in your own body, you're not perfect. You're not. And I had to realize that. And I had to acknowledge my flaws. I had to acknowledge my mistakes. So that I wouldn't make them again. I don't want to go through that season again to where I'm depressed for so long without knowing. And then I realized that, Ray, you're depressed 3 months in. I don't want to go through that again. Okay? So I heard Spirit advise me to share my journey with you guys. Because that's what it really means to be an example. I don't want to just show you guys the good parts when I'm meditating every day and in my word every day and journaling every day. Of course I'm at my best, but I don't want to only show you guys that part of the journey, because that's not the only part that there is. There are valley moments on the journey. There are moments of confusion on this journey. There are moments of despair. And there are moments where you have to surrender on this journey. There are many moments when you just have to surrender on this journey called life. And I had to realize, Ray, this is your moment to just surrender. Surrender, acknowledge the things that you've done or things that you didn't do to get to this place. And ask for forgiveness. It's already there, available for you. It's already gift wrapped. The forgiveness is already there with a bow on it. Perfectly wrapped. Okay? Ready to be given to you. That's how God operates. You don't have to fight for his forgiveness. It's already there. You just gotta receive it. Ask him for it, receive it. And that's the place that I'm in. I'm genuinely happy. I'm genuinely full of joy and peace. And I really do want to share that with you guys. And this is not a long video. I don't know how long it's been. Can't say how long it's been, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. I want to encourage you that if you're going through a season where it just seems like your emotions are running rampant, your thoughts are uncontrollable, things around you just seem to get on your last nerve, it's okay. Maybe, just maybe, you need to spend some time alone with God, with yourself. Maybe you just need to have some honest moments with yourself. Try to figure out what's going on. Are you being committed to your purpose, to your calling? Are you being committed to your relationship with your creator, your source? Are you being intentional? Are you being consistent? Are you taking care of yourself? Those are questions that you can ask yourself. And if you don't have the answer yourself, you can always go get it. God is right. God is ever present. He's ever present. And so I encourage you to really, really sit down with yourself. Set aside some time to really figure out what's going on. And just be still, be quiet. Allow God to speak to your spirit. Allow God to speak to your spirit. So what I'm going to do, and I'm sharing this with you guys because it's important for you guys to know how others overcome. So God called me to a fast, and if anyone knows me, y'all know I would go on a fast in a minute. But it's been a while. I feel like that I've done a fast. So whenever I go on a fast, I just I just abstain from certain foods. I don't indulge in my favorite things just to control this flesh. Because if you give your body too much of what it wants, it begins to crave and become addicted to those things. And addiction is something that I never want to be a part of. So I give myself discipline. I discipline myself and abstain from those things and choose not to indulge, because I believe once you weaken your flesh and get that under control, your spirit can definitely take over and be extended out into the world. So that's what I plan on doing. And if you have any questions, if you want to join me on the fast, I don't know how long it's going to be. I'll just meditate and get some direction and instruction. But if anyone wants to join me and want to know what I do or what you can do to get this flesh under control and give more power to your spirit, definitely send me a message. Send me a message. I'll respond. But thank you guys for tuning in. I hope if you didn't get a chance to watch it live, that you go back and watch it. I really wish you guys would have corresponded with me more, but it's going to be more Rae of Sonlight to come. And I really want that interaction. I want you guys to speak to me. Tell me what's going on. You know, tell me how you're doing in this season of your life. What season of your life are you in? What season of life are you in? Do you ever ask yourself that question? What season of life are you in? That's a good question to ask. And if you have an answer, definitely send me a message. I want to know, what season of life are you in? Ask yourself that question. Meditate on that question. And if you want to share it with me. I want to know. I want to know. But God bless you. I pray for you guys. I pray that God will cover you and protect you. I pray that you become more aware of His presence in your life. I pray that you become more aware of His love in your life. Whew. Love each other. Love yourself. Love God. Until next time. Goodbye, guys.